Welcome to the PFP podcast from the Personal Finance Society, a place for thought-provoking discussion from the world of financial planning and beyond. I'm Luke Holloway, editor of Personal Finance Professional. In this episode of the podcast, we're catching up with the Personal Finance Society president for 2025, Carla Brown, just over halfway through her presidential year. As well as serving as PFS president, Carla is also chair of the PFS board and CEO and chartered financial planner at Oakmere Wealth Management. Carla was also our PFS Chartered Financial Planner of the Year for 2021-22. Hello, Carla, and welcome to the podcast. It's lovely to have you with us again.
Hi, Luke. Thank you for inviting me.
Excellent. It's great to have you back. And we're excited to hear more about your presidency so far in what's been a really exciting year for the PFS, hasn't it?
Absolutely. And it's gone so quickly. I can't believe we're 6 months in already.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Time certainly does fly. It's great to speak to you and check in and see how it's all gone so far. So, Carla, at the beginning of 2025, when we spoke to you, you announced your theme of your presidency, which is aimed at not only improving financial education, which is so important, but also helping young people see financial services as an engaging and long-term career option, isn't it? So can you tell us a bit more about that and how that's been going so far this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So my theme was always about practical action. So not just talking about financial education, but actually trying to make it happen. We were so proud this week to launch the PFS Pathway to the Profession, which is something we've been working on as a board for many months, and tied in very nicely with the Chancellor's Mansion House speech last week, where they talked about the importance of financial services, but very much about looking at how we bring a pipeline of new talent into our profession. And that, to me, that is through education. So we need to be educating young people as to what financial services is, what a career in financial planning actually looks like, but also really importantly about getting into schools, education settings, and actually teaching young people the essential life skills of financial planning. So, how do they understand interest? When they get a payslip, what's it mean to them? Helping them make better financial decisions. So it's kind of a multifaceted theme. There's lots of different ways we can look at it, but we've made some really great inroads, particularly last week with the Pathway to Profession announcement. We're looking at investing £1 million in getting new talent and new people into the profession. It's about building confidence. It's about helping shape the next generation and their financial awareness. So it's been fabulous seeing how well it's going so far.
That's incredible. And yes, the Pathway to the Profession initiative is so exciting and seems to have resonated massively with members and the wider profession already. And the PFS is also partnering with some really powerful organisations, isn't it? Like the Duke of Edinburgh Award, UCAS and Upreach. So that's hoping to reach a kind of the next generation of diverse talent, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we're looking to engage with people from all backgrounds. So Upreach is helping with social mobility. We've got Every Woman trying to address the gender imbalance that we have in our profession. We've got UCAS talking about, not just getting into financial services via a degree, but also looking at, apprenticeships. So we're trying to make sure that it's accessible for all, because that's really important. People from all backgrounds can have a career in financial services. It's not just about, graduates and people who've been educated through universities.
Absolutely. And of course, as we said, it's resonated with the wider profession already. And it's now that the PFS are also reaching out to professionals, aren't they, and members for their input as to where a large part of that investment can be made, aren't they?
Absolutely. So we've already got plans for just over £500,000 of the investment through the projects and the partnerships that we've already announced. We now have just under £500,000 still available, and we're asking members to put forward ideas as to how we can deploy this money. So asking them to come forward with some suggestions, some business plans, ways that we can really make a difference to the next generation. And no idea is too big or too small. The only caveat is that it needs to encourage somebody somewhere into a career in financial services.
Excellent. And yes, we're already seeing that, a huge number of members and personal finance professionals are engaging with the survey and looking at the details and getting their thinking caps on for how that investment can be made.
They are. I've had some great suggestions sent through to me on email already, never mind via the survey. And the engagement that we've seen via the media, via social media has been actually quite overwhelming. People have really got behind this. We really seem to have really hit the mark with this initiative. And it's great to see that this is something that members have been crying out for. They recognise the potential issues further down the line. We've seen as a professional body, we've done a really good job in getting people to progress through our qualifications framework. So becoming diploma qualified, becoming chartered, becoming fellow, the numbers there are fantastic. We're doing a really good job there. But what we have seen is a decline in the number of entry level members. And, when we're looking at as a long-term career and the long-term sustainability of financial services, we need that pipeline of new talent coming through. So, we've identified this. I've seen this in my own business, how difficult it can be to attract and retain young talent. So we're doing something practical to try and address this now.
And you highlight how important it is that we support early career professionals. And I think you touched on it then, that of course we do mean young people coming into the profession, but it's also individuals that may be further into their careers, isn't it, that have taken a break or are switching careers and moving into financial services for the first time. So what does the PFS do in terms of supporting those people when they join, and also, once they become part of the profession?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen some huge success from career switches coming into our profession. Historically, it was something that people kind of fell into and didn't find out about it until later in life. And that's still the case for a lot of people. What we're trying to do here is make people more aware of what a career in financial services can look like. So obviously, through the PFS, we've already got our professional map. So if anybody wants to know what careers in financial services, they can go on there and have a look at that and work out what they need to get where they want to be. But it's not just about young people, it's about new talent in general. So whether that's, somebody coming back after having a family, whether it's somebody who is looking to change the career, perhaps somebody who's come out the armed forces, this is a profession that's literally open to anybody. We just need to make people aware that it exists.
Definitely. And yeah, it's encouraging to hear about these new ways of building that awareness and promoting financial services as the great profession it is. I mean, one way that the PFS, I suppose, provide guidance and learning to current professionals is PFS Power, isn't it? Which many of our listeners will be familiar with, but some may not. And that's a really established way, isn't it, of the PFS providing kind of guidance, which is all kind of created by financial planners. So I know you yourself take part in webinars and contribute to that guidance that Power offers. So can you tell us more about that platform?
I would love to. Yes, absolutely. So PFS Power started back in 2017, and it was a panel. Back then it was called the Expert Practitioner Panel. And it was really created to try and generate CPD content by practitioners for practitioners, and looking at true financial planning as opposed to product selling. And so we've got a website now that's got over 400 webinars on there. There's articles, blogs, there's all sorts of content that's been created over the years, some of which is by practicing individuals, some of it's by experts in their field, but a lot of it is around the kind of softer skills. So, through the PFSSCI, we have a framework of technical qualifications, but they don't test or they don't teach you the interpersonal skills that you need when you're sitting in front of a client. It's about having those authentic client conversations. They don't teach you how to go out and get clients. They don't teach you how to do an annual review with a client. So Power really fits into that gap, and it's about helping people work through any pain points. It's about, how to have better conversations. And it's really well subscribed and supported. We have a LinkedIn community. We try and encourage more people to get involved with our LinkedIn community. And we have a panel, which we have an application process for every year. We're just in the process of sifting through this year's applicants, actually. We've had just over 30 applicants for the 2 posts we've got available this year. And we try to represent all different facets of what makes up our membership. So the PFS is a very broad church. We have people in different roles. We have people in different business structures. Some people are employed, some people are self-employed, some people are independent, some people are tied, some people charge fixed fees, some people charge percentages. So, it really is a broad church. We're trying to appeal to everybody. And it's about putting out content that is going to enhance people's skills in their day-to-day job. So, when I meet with the panel, the meetings are illuminating. They're so, sometimes I just wish we could film the meetings and put those out, because the conversations that we have around the table are fascinating. I think we all come away having learned something.
Yes, I mean the fact it is by, financial planners, they live these challenges and these kind of opportunities with clients every day, don't they? So it's just so valuable that they pass on and reflect on the guidance that they know very well themselves in their careers.
Definitely. And, when we have these conversations, it turns out a lot of us are struggling with the same things, or might be finding the same issues. Now, whether that's a regulatory issue or a process issue, or even, the conversation we had this week were, how do you deal with the emotional effect of clients giving you bad news? Because, clients will talk to you about some awful things that might be going on in their lives, but you're then taking on that information. And how do you then disseminate that? And so it doesn't start to affect your own well-being as well. So, there's lots of conversations that go on within the panel. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it there. That kind of just other financial planners just being able to be aware that support is there, and that other advisors are facing the same challenges around customer vulnerability and reviewing a client's circumstances. So that's a side that isn't, the technical side or in textbooks as such.
Absolutely. And that's where, it complements the technical qualifications brilliantly. And the moment we've been trying to map this into the professional map as well, to make sure that it all kind of fits together. And I know there's a body of work going on at the moment reviewing the whole qualifications framework. So this is going to build in more of the behavioural and interpersonal skills as well as the technical skills. So that's really pleasing to see. And obviously in November last year, PFS Power also announced our financial planning guide, which we launched at the national conference. And again, that's been really well received. We're not looking to deliver an exact process for people to work to, but it's kind of a framework that people can implement when they're dealing with clients. So yeah, there's lots going on.
Excellent. And we'll certainly direct listeners to the Power website itself and that guidance and all the really rich content that's always current and always relevant, that's being produced by PFS Power.
Thank you.
So returning to your role as president this year, and also as chair of the PFS board, Carla, can you tell us a bit more about how those two roles are working kind of alongside each other, and also perhaps tell us a bit more about the board's focus and priorities for 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was appointed as chair in March. So it's still early days for me at the moment. And I was really thrilled to be appointed as chair. And we've had it's been no secret. It's been a tough few years for the PFS, but have worked through this now. And the board that we have in place at the moment, we're very much focused on clarity, on transparency. We want to be transparent for members, but also looking forward. So rather than, raking over what's gone on before, we now need to learn from that, and we need to move forward. So move forwards together to try and deliver a better experience for our members. So we actually have a strategy day next week where the board's all getting together and looking at actually what do we want the PFS of the future to look like? What's our North Star? What's our guiding principle? And how do we deliver that for members? So thinking about, what have members told us that they want? Well, they want a louder voice. They want us to represent them more. Thinking about actually the member proposition, what do we want that to look like? So we want to be a strong professional body that our members can be proud of. We want to better engage with our members. We know that, the social media, the website presence, it's not been a great experience. We want to look at making that better. And we want a clearer voice for financial planning. We want our members to know that we've got their back and that we are representing them where it matters. So, as I say, in 2025, we're looking at prioritising member value. We're looking to modernise our CPD offer, make it easy for members to record CPD. And of course, we're looking to carry on rebuilding trust. Trust is not earned overnight. It takes time to rebuild that trust. And we hope that members do see that we have their best interests at heart and we are listening. But also looking at, how do we support lifelong careers for our members? So from engaging with young people, new talent looking to come into the profession, but also how do we support people further down the careers as well? Because, it is a lifelong career.
So it sounds like there's a huge amount of positive work going on in quite a few areas, and the board are considering the whole, membership package as well, which is really, really encouraging to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, it takes time to think this through, make sure we're getting it right, but we are listening to what members want.
Absolutely, and as we said, it's been a very busy year so far, Carla. I mean, how have you been managing to engage with members across the UK during your presidency? I mean, through kind of learning and through events and that kind of thing, and where can members expect to see you in the months ahead?
Well, who knows where I'm going to pop up, but I've been trying to get out to as many regional events as possible. So I've been heading out on the spring and the summer road shows to get into as many locations as I can. We've got the autumn road shows due to kick off in September, so I'm due to attend a number of those as well. I've been out to a few regional committees, to a few institute dinners. We've also got the Business of Advice conference in London in September, so I'm planning on being at that. We had the Purely Paraplanning conference in May. That was a great event for any paraplanners out there. I would definitely recommend they go along to that next year. We had the PFS MDRT day earlier in the year. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend that, but I've already got that in my calendar for next year. And then, of course, we've got our flagship event, the National Conference in November the 13th in London. So very much looking forward to that. We're currently shaping the agenda for that programme and it looks fantastic. So if members were in Manchester last year for the conference there, national conference there, this year, hopefully it's going to be even bigger and better.
Wow, I mean, a huge amount already. And it sounds like there's still lots to come as well for the rest of the year. I mean, Carla, from the perspective of PFS members, how well do you feel the Personal Finance Society has delivered so far this year?
I think we've made a really solid start. You know, the PFS has been stagnant, I would say, for the last couple of years. We haven't really moved forwards. We've been tied up with other issues that members wouldn't necessarily have seen. There has been things going on, but not things that have necessarily been visible to the membership. I feel we're in a position now where we're actually starting to deliver things that members can really see. It's tangible, it's making a difference. And I think the pathway to the profession this week is a real example of that. This is something that's been months of work in progress and we've been finally able to launch it. And members have told us they're starting to feel more connected again. You know, as we've already alluded to, the number of members that have engaged with the pathway announcement and the survey is just brilliant. But, you know, we're not complacent. We still know there's a lot to do, especially around modernising systems and communications. We're working on this. But I would definitely say the momentum is building and members are absolutely at the heart of every decision that we make. And I hope that comes across.
Absolutely, I'm sure it does. And so speaking about the profession more widely, Carla, I mean, it feels like in recent times that financial advice, you know, the landscape's really kind of shifting all the time. There's been changes to pension rules and inheritance taxes constantly in the news. There's so much directly affecting the public and how they plan their finances and their futures. So, I mean, would you say that the need for advice has never been greater? And how do you feel the PFS are helping advisors and financial planners, you know, address these challenges that just seem to be always at the forefront of society?
I think that's a really good question, Luke. I think when these situations arise, such as things like changes in inheritance tax rules, changes to pensions, it gives us an opportunity to contact our clients, to actually speak to our clients. And that's when they need us the most. So it's learning how to have those conversations, how to turn these potentially painful for our client situations around into an opportunity for us to add value to our client relationships. You know, there's no doubt we're working in a particularly complex and fast-changing environment. Market dynamics are changing all the time. We've got regulatory burdens. We have consumer duty. We've got, you know, changing customer expectations. I think clients are becoming more demanding. They're more, they want answers to things quickly. And obviously, you know, trying to attract and retain new talent. They're all hot topics in our profession. I think we're supporting members through practical guidance. So in this last 12 months alone, we issued a guide on economic abuse and life insurance. So, you know, helping advisors identify clients who are potentially suffering from economic abuse and how we can more easily recognise that and signpost that. We also issued a guidance around dealing with claims management companies. You know, this has been an issue for a lot of our peers over the last 12, 18 months. So how to protect yourself, how to make sure you document the process, how to avoid getting these complaints in the first place. We've also issued a lot around consumer duty as well. We had the consumer duty toolkit. So there's been lots going on to help our members in their day-to-day roles, difficulties. It's brilliant being part of a profession that genuinely improves people's lives. And I think we're supporting members with practical guidance. We're giving good practice guides. And also we're starting, I don't think we've done this enough, but we're starting now to advocate on behalf of members with regulators and policymakers. Now, there's recently been a new hire, Adam Harper, who is really looking at how he can help the PFS become a louder voice in terms of policy and the regulators. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to work going forwards.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd certainly encourage listeners to visit the PFS website and engage with the Personal Finance Society on social media and wherever they can to make the most of that valuable guidance, as you say, and the Consumer Duty Toolkit, the learning materials that are available for a very fast changing regulatory landscape, and find out how they can get support from their membership organisation.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's so much information on there. And I think sometimes we forget what's available to us. I had a suggestion through from a member on email today, and it's something that already exists, but people don't know about it. So I think as a body, we need to get better at telling people all the good stuff that we do, because, it's there. We just don't tell people. So we need to get better at shouting about some of the good stuff that's out there.
And Carla, we've already said that, time flies and we're already hurtling through the year. So as we pass this halfway point, can you kind of look back and see one or two moments from your presidency so far that have kind of stood out to you or that feel particularly meaningful?
I think there's two that immediately jump to mind. So the first one was the graduation ceremony last year, which I had the pleasure of being at and handing out the graduation certificates and meeting all the graduates on stage. I mean, that was just astounding to see the culmination of members' hard work, quite often years in the making, to finally get to, chartered fellow. It's just so overwhelming. And because they're allowed to bring family along to the ceremony, the pride on the family's faces as they watch the loved one go up on stage and get the certificate and a handshake, it was just a joy to be a part of. So I really, really enjoyed that. And then I think the second thing that stands out has to be the Pathway launch this week. It was just a joy to be part of, to feel the positivity in the room on the day, to see the feedback that we got online, to see the way it was taken up in the press. It really felt as though we'd hit the mark with what we delivered, and the enthusiasm from the membership to take it forward and the suggestions that we're seeing coming through. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Two excellent choices there. I mean, firstly, those graduation ceremonies are so fantastic to see, aren't they? Having members' hard work, as you say, often across many years, recognised in front of their family and friends. It's a very proud moment, isn't it? I know for professionals.
It is, and it really made me reflect back to 2012 when I got my chartered qualification, and I remember being that member nervously walking on stage and shaking hands with the president at the time. And I was terrified, but to be on the other side of it was an absolute pleasure.
And that's an important point to touch on, isn't it? The Personal Finance Society are really keen to acknowledge and celebrate, the success of members. We have our Personal Finance Awards that are being held later this autumn, and we have our Apprenticeship Awards as well that will be again this year. And it's so important to highlight that these achievements are fantastic, and it's great to kind of stop and celebrate them, how far professionals come and all the hard work they put in.
It really is, because it doesn't happen overnight. I know from the hours that I put into studying for Chartered and Fellow, and then from, applying to the awards, it takes time to do an award submission. It takes time to get it right. It took me 3 attempts to win it. It was a long time coming, a lot of hours put into those submissions. So I think we absolutely should be celebrating our members' successes, because, it's hard work, and also, bringing the families along as well, because, it's not just the member that's investing the time, it also impacts on the family life as well. So I think it's really important that we can bring them all together.
And you touched again on the Pathway to the Profession initiative that's now kind of launched, and it's out there and making, really resonating with the wider profession. And that's kind of, it helps, give you that fire, because you think, well, if young people know about this career, look at how kind of rich and varied it is, and, how much you can learn and how much you can kind of enjoy a long-term career in financial services.
Absolutely. Not everybody wants to be a financial planner, but there's so many different career strands. There is a job for everybody, I believe, in financial services. Whether you want to work as an administrator in an office, whether you want to be in compliance, whether you want to be in, sales and marketing, whatever you want to do, there is a role for it in financial services. It's just finding your niche and making people aware that it exists.
Absolutely. And yeah, there's certainly looks like the pathway to the profession is going to be a fantastic initiative to make that a reality for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So finally, Carla, we've covered so much already of what's happened and what's to come. But I mean, can you let us know what you're most excited about for the rest of your presidency, and any kind of final words for listeners?
I think, honestly, I'm just excited to keep the momentum going. It feels as though we're really starting to get traction now and to engage with members. So I really want to keep that going forwards. We've got some great people in this profession. I want to help them feel connected. I want to help them feel valued. I want to help them feel inspired. And I want them to feel part of a community. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of the profession step forward. So as part of the pathway to the profession, we're looking for people to get involved in mentoring, sharing stories, going into schools and education settings to work as volunteers, offering internships. So, we need to work together on this. It's not a problem that the PFS alone can fix. We really need our members to engage with this and come up with some ideas, but also offer some practical assistance as well, and really be involved in helping us shape the future of the PFS. And it's a real privilege to be part of that journey. I'm really proud to be president at this time.
Absolutely. And we've touched on, many of the incredible initiatives that the PFS are really pushing and really kind of sharing among members, but it is those members that kind of bring them to life, isn't it? So we certainly encourage them to engage in everything we've spoke about today.
Absolutely. We can't do it without them.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Carla, for joining me on the podcast today. It's been fantastic to hear about all the positive work going on around the PFS and for members. And we're really excited to see that develop further. So thank you very much for sharing that with us today on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Luke.
And thank you very much for listening to this episode of the PFP podcast. You'll find links alongside this podcast to find out more about the incredible Pathway to Profession initiative, where you can offer your ideas and input. And you'll also find related articles on the Personal Finance Professional website, along with further podcasts and all sorts more. So please like and review and subscribe this podcast wherever you can. Until next time, thank you for listening and goodbye.